like Herodotus, take what you want to take from him, leave what you want to leave from him. I would leave lots of things from Herodotus. I will take some. But why are we calling him a historian? I mean, what is a historian? What is an Egyptologist who describes temples, study the tombs, probably decipher some of the texts? But he didn't do that. He learned from people, he heard from people, and then he wrote. So you can describe him, if you ask me, as a tourist. And that is not something bad, that's something good. But he's not a historian. He's not to the level of a person who studied the pyramid, how it was built, because when he described things like that, most of the time he described it with exaggeration, number one. Number two, with great deal of mistakes. So let's go back to, if Herodotus was not the first person who said Egypt is the Great Nile, who did? And again, who did Herodotus take from? Well, there is a guy that I would like to introduce you to now called Hikatea, the Maltese, from Malta. So he's called Hikatea al-Malti in Arabic. And this man is well known in Selim Hassan, the famous encyclopedia of Selim Hassan, Ancient Egypt, and which I recommend everybody to read it. And also, he was mentioned by some other historians. But Hikatea al-Malti, or the Hikatea from Malta, was an amazing visitor to Egypt, and he was the first who said that, and it was mentioned by Selim Hassan that he was the first to say it, and then Herodotus took, and Herodotus said that he took some stuff from Hikatea, and he did not actually said no about that. Go back from Herodotus, let's go a little bit further and talk about Champollion. Champollion,
the Rosetta Stone.
The Rosetta Stone.
Right.
First of all, why are we calling it a stone? A stone is a block that you cut or hewn off the cliffs or hewn off a quarry, right? You go to the quarry, you cut a stone, you take it, it's a stone. You find a pebble or something on the floor and you pick it up, it's a stone, right? Carve on it, it's a stela. It's a lawha in Arabic, because you carved on it.
So it was originally a stone?
And
then after it was carved, it's a stela.
Exactly. So if I am referring to it as today, as the pictures, then, which is now in the British Museum, asking it to come back, then we refer to it as the Rosetta Stela and not the Rosetta Stone. But if I told you, did you know that the Rosetta Stone is 600 million years of age? What would you say? 600 million years of age. At some point, is going to tell me.
So it's not from the ancient Egyptian times?
As a stone, it was formed
before.
In natural formation.
Before the history of the ancient Egyptians.
Before, way before. In the days of the formation of the mountain, the formation of the stone, the formation from where it came from. It's still a stone, not carved. 600 million. 600 million years of age. That study was made by the people of the British Museum. But 600 million is what stone is it? Go to the Egyptian Museum, here you see a replica, a very lousy one, all right, a replica, and the replica was with a card on the side for years. It was written basalt, made out of basalt stone. So some years ago I was here and we were on TV here, and I met the gentleman who was the boss of the Egyptian Museum at that time, and I ran after air, and after him in the corridor I said, sir, doctor, this is what? And I said, do you remember those days when they were moving the Ramesses statue, the colossal statue, from the square of Ramesses to the Midan al-Rimaya square? Those days. So I ran after him and I said, it's not basalt, sir. The Rosetta Stela is not made out of basalt stone. It's granodiorite. Granodiorite. Gray with pink veins. And I saw it with my own eyes in the British Museum more than once, before and after they cleaned it. Because they cleaned it, and because it was always placed on the side like a book, and then they decided to put it as it used to be in the old days when it was on its base. And we knew it was like that because the base was ready. And the back was a little bit rough. So we knew that in the temple, originally, that stela was placed with its back towards something, towards a wall, or towards a pylon. Why? Because the back is rough. If that stela was left like that on its own in the middle of the temple, then the people who made it, they would make it smooth here. They wouldn't let it rough to be seen by everybody from all sides. So that rough part on the back of this part that you see is what you see or what you saw as well in the temple in the ancient times. You don't see the back, but the back is rough, which means it was not seen in the temple. Interesting, because the design and the work on the stela gives you how it was placed originally in the temple. Another thing we found in the Rosetta, when you study the Rosetta, that it had a journey. The decree, the bayan, the decree, which is actually carved on the trilingual, could be people saying it is in hieroglyphs, it's in demotic, which is a very cursive way of writing of hieroglyphs, ancient Egyptian as well, and Greek. The Greek, which is the bottom one, the Greek was in Greek capitals. And the hieroglyphs, and the demotic, which is the, if you like, the most cursive way of writing hieroglyphs. So there are 3 scripts, 2 languages. How about that? Because people say there are 3 languages. No, there are 3 scripts, 3 paragraphs, right? But 2 languages, Egyptian and Greek. Because hieroglyphs and demotic is Egyptian. And Greek, right? Interestingly enough, when they were studying in the British Museum, they found traces of light red pigment, which means that what we see today, see, this is interesting here, is not what it used to look like in the temple. Because probably with that light red pigment, that gives you an idea that those letters were kind of filled with red. It could be like the red shining text from the granodiorite. Very, very interesting. We didn't know that. For years, we didn't know that. And also, if you would have looked at it in the British Museum before they cleaned it, you would find it very black, shining, right? Sparkling black like that. And the signs, like the hieroglyphs and the demotic and the Greek, are in white. Why? Because that white was white chalk. They brought white chalk powder and they put it so the white chalk would rest inside the signs, the carved signs. And by this, the signs can be read easily. They used to do that. When you want to read a text and the text is so small and it's on a dark background, what do? You would bring chalk, white chalk, and you would put it. The white chalk will rest, will be sunk inside the sign, and the signs will be bright for you to read.
But then it will fade with time.
Of course. Of course. That didn't happen a great deal, but of course.
Maybe they could have used dye or something?
They used chalk. That's what they thought. And probably the dyes, they would be in trouble using that because dyes can be filled with, I don't know, chemicals and so on. If it was chemical dyes, if natural dyes, that's something. And then they would cover the whole Rosetta. That sparkling black was the, what was the reason for that? Why when we used to look at it, it used to be like so shiny, as if you just like made it with some, I don't know, polish or something. Well, they did. And they covered it in wax to protect it. That is in the old days. Now all that is cleaned. All that is clean now. And that wax was a certain type of wax called carnauba wax. And the carnauba wax was for protection. When they decided to clean it and they decided to put it, then we saw it was gray, not black. We knew it was granodiorite, not basalt. And we knew it was pink veins in the natural stone, and not it was a black basalt stone. When I ran after the boss of the museum and I told him, now it's all different, it's not basalt, the British Museum has found out and has found out, he said, oh, we didn't receive anything from the British Museum, and I left him alone. We didn't receive anything from the British Museum.
So they used that type of wax to protect the
the stela. And the interesting thing is, Champollion himself, we have Champollion as a picture, our beautiful friend in your beautiful control room has found it. And Champollion is a very controversial guy. He died young. He died 42 or something years of age. He was a nervous guy. He was an intense guy. He was a genius. He made his mistakes. He made his major mistakes.
But did Champollion use the Greek language to translate?
He studied Arabic. He studied Sanskrit. He studied languages from India. He studied Greek. Those people, he was a genius. When he was only 19, he was given his high degree. And who wrote his doctorate degree? Who wrote the papers which facilitated him being a doctor? But Napoleon. Napoleon himself. When you are 19 years of age, tell me about youth. Tell me about how you support youth as the people who are running a nation by believing in a guy who's 19 years of age and he studied all those languages. So no surprise, the guy died, he deciphered the Rosetta Stela, he died 42 years of age, he changed the world. And by the way, his tomb in France has got an obelisk right over it. Not an ancient obelisk, but a French-made obelisk. The guy was very into it. But I'll tell you about Champollion. Did something very interesting. When he was working very hard and he was very tired, and he's dying to get that decipherment. He did not work from the Rosetta. Did you know that Champollion deciphered hieroglyphs without looking at the Rosetta Stela? Because the Rosetta Stela was in England.
So how did he do it?
By copies. Copies were made and sent when it was found, because the Rosetta Stela was found in Rosetta, in Rashid, in a citadel, in a fortress called the Fortress of Qaid Bey. Because everybody knows the Fortress of Qaid Bey in Alexandria.
In Alexandria, yes.
Right? And did anybody know that there was a huge, amazing construction in Rosetta, in Rashid, called the Citadel of Qaid Bey, where the French were destroying and demolishing some parts because they were reorganizing the citadel for their wars and for their fightings and so on. And the guy who was in the head of the French guy, the French soldier, who was the head of the demolition party in the army was Bouchard, and under his control the stone was found, and good job that it was Bouchard who was there, because they knew that this is something important. Somebody said it was okay for that stela to be in the hands of the French first, because the French knew about culture. Because maybe if it was in the hands of I don't know who, he would be like throwing it somewhere.
It wouldn't have been noticed. But
something like that.
We found, now that we have found out how Champollion have found out all those discoveries, we're very curious to know, how do you come up with all these things, interesting things? I mean, how do you notice them? I mean,
well, first of all, I read a great deal of the Rosetta Stone stela from the British Museum work. And the British Museum, I like the British School of Egyptology. It's straightforward, it's one sentence with a big hit, it's surprising. Amazingly enough, they are very flexible, because some people will tell you that the British School of Egyptology will be rigid, and I said no. I think our school is more rigid. Our School of Egyptology here with our professors, which of course I respect, all of them, it's more rigid, more solid, more I'm not going to change. And this Bassam said, oh no, put him aside. We are with the things which was said 200 years ago. So it's, the British were more flexible, which is surprising. But
open to thinking.
But yeah, but they are. Champollion, after all a great deal of work, he's dying of work, he's literally dying of work, he found it. I've done it. So he ran to his brother in the institute, to the room of his brother in the institute, and he shouted his famous words. So he said, I've done it. That was the sentence. Like Eureka, I don't know, I've found it or whatever, was the scream of Archimedes or whatever. That was another very famous scream in history.
But would you tell us more about the process that Champollion followed in order to translate the hieroglyphic letters into the Latin letters?
From the Greek, you are dealing with Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphic, and the key is Coptic.
The Coptic language?
The Coptic script.
Right.
That is the key. And I'm saying it's still the key.
So he was translating it.
If
he kept
the Coptic, why Coptic is the most, if you like, important link between past and in languages, between past and modern. Because Coptic had ancient scripts living in it. What is Coptic? What is the Coptic script? Greek plus number of signs. Some people said 7, some people said 8 and more. From Demotic. So it took from Demotic and it put inside Greek equals the result Coptic. So Coptic bore Greek in it
and
Demotic in it, and Demotic is more important than hieroglyph. Hieroglyph is the language of the kings, the princess I don't know who, queen I don't know what, so thank you very much is great. Nobleman I don't know what. The temple carving on the tombs, carving on the temples, papyri of royalty, that's hieroglyphs. But this man behind the camera, myself walking down the street, going to my job every day, daily life business is demotic. Populace. That's from where the word democracy, here you go. The populace, the population, the language or the script of the people. What you write.
You mean the slang language?
If you, more or less it is like naskhan riqa in Arabic. It's like the very articulate way of drawing an owl, which is letter M in hieroglyphs, or you write very quickly an owl. Or you draw an owl very quickly, very cursive.
So Demotic was used only during the ancient Egyptian times,
and
not before that.
Then lived, yes, but then it lived with some letters and some signs in Coptic.
Right.
The Coptic, if you like, borrowed some of it. Why? Because those letters in Demotic were not in Greek. The Greek script lacked some of the letters in Egypt. This business of je tiens mon affaire, that is the scream, the sentence, which I think changed the world of Egyptology. Je tiens mon affaire, that's what Champollion screamed to his brother. I've done it. I found it. He said je tiens mon affaire in French, and then he fainted for 5 days. Deadly faint for 5 days.
Working
the British
so
Museum
hard.
is telling us in the book, he was so tired, he was so excited, and because he couldn't believe himself reaching that, because remember, Champollion was not the only one who tried that. Oh, Silver de
A lot of trials before him.
Names like pyramids, if you like.
So did he continue on the works of the people before
Exactly. And if you want to be more accurate than this as well, you can say he gathered the fruit basket.
Right.
He had the fruit basket on his table, and then he chose from the apples and the oranges.
Who were the people? You were talking about the people.
Silver de Sassi. And Silver de Sassi actually taught him. And he learned Arabic. We have Akkerblad. Whoa. Thomas Young. What an amazing man. And by the way, Thomas Young was the competitor in history of translation and transliteration and decipherment with Champollion. And when the Rosetta Stela went to Paris in the 1970s, can you imagine this? The two enemies now are in peace. So the French asked the British to send them the Rosetta Stela to visit Paris. And they agreed. Why are the British Museum, they are not agreeing to send it to us? You send it to your enemy or ex-enemy. Right. So they put the Rosetta in Paris for the people to come and visit it. And right beside the Rosetta Stela, the two huge pictures of Champollion and Thomas Young. The people left the show, the exhibition, not discussing the Rosetta Stela, but discussing whose picture is bigger than the other. Is it Thomas Young? Because that's the British. Or is it Champollion? Oh, the French. So the people left the exhibition thinking, oh, our picture is bigger than yours. That's very human. That's competition of humans. But for us, it was a good competition. It was a beneficiary competition because everybody benefited from that competition.
But most probably those were the public, but the historians...
Yeah. Oh, the historians were out of this world.
Debating about something else.
Everybody was rejoicing, of course. Because in 1822, that is the change, some people say the birth of...
The Rosetta Stele?
The birth of Egyptology. The birth of Egyptology as we know it. But remember, An-Nabati Abi Bakr, known by Ibn Wahshiyah, was an Arab from Al-Anbat, from Jordan, who attempted to decipher hundreds of years before Champollion. So the Arabs tried as well. Okay, they didn't decipher the whole thing, but they tried as well. And there are more surprises in history to come in other episodes, inshallah.
You promised that you tell us the rest of the story next week.
Inshallah.
Right, Dr. Bassam El Shammaa, a prominent Egyptologist and historian. Many thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
And dear viewers, we now go for this short break and we'll be back.
Egypt's culture has thousands of years of recorded history. In every major city, you'll find traditions that remain from the time of the pharaohs. Cruising on the Nile, Ramadan in Egypt, Eid, and also shopping. All have a different flavor. Explore Egypt on Nile TV International.
Compose a major industry in Egypt. It initiated in the ancient Egyptian times and continued one generation after another throughout the years. This is a center of handcraft industry in Siwa, Oasis. It's created to preserve the handmade skills and produce beautiful souvenirs to be sold for tourists. The new productions of Siwian Bedouin women, oriented to the tourist market, mainly involve young girls who are highly skilled and need to earn some money to contribute to their family's expenses. Even if they are not highly skilled, they can satisfy the requests of the shop sellers, or they may receive training in sewing and finishing. To the contrary, the high-skilled women prefer to continue to embroider the traditional clothes for the brides through sew, which are better rewarded and also give them a certain degree of social recognition, and their names will be mentioned every time their garments would be shown in local festivities and parties. The fame of these needle women sometimes arrives to the ears of external investors who are interested in selling high-quality embroidered items outside Siwa. Some of them are Egyptians who own high-class handicraft shops in the big cities of Cairo and Alexandria, while others are Europeans interested in exporting to well-known ethnic shops. Usually they skip any kind of mediations and they search for professional women directly in the houses. When they find a good one, they offer her a good payment, not only for her handmade work, but also to select and coordinate other women who are good enough to help her to complete the order. This informal home-based production system, the women work at home and they are paid per piece, seems to be the most suited for Siwan women because it lets them managing their time between the work and their daily family duties. In fact, it's not easy for them to leave their houses and go to work, especially when they have more than 7 or 8 children.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And as we mentioned earlier, and as we're approaching the summer vacation, we're going to be discussing how students can spend their summer vacation, who are the responsible agencies or authorities to organize for the benefit, the best benefit for organizing special activities for students during their summer vacation. And on this very important issue, we're glad to be joined by Dr. Fouad El-Abed, international educational expert. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Dr. Abed, good morning. And my first question to you is, how do you see time off for any person, any human being? Why is it so important to take a break from work, from study, from any activity that you're currently doing every day?
It's very important to everybody, as you said, that he must have vacation so that to refresh his energy. But it's very important for, especially for the youth. As we know that there are many problems with the youth, because they have no activities, and they feel that they haven't anything to do, and in this case they have to go to the wrong way. So it's very important to be cooperation between Ministry of Education and Ministry of Sports to plan how we can use this time for these youth. So that to avoid the many problems with the youth when they feel that they haven't anything to do.
Right, so who are the responsible organizations, authorities, or maybe even agencies who can organize for the best benefit of the students during their summer vacation?
Well, I tell you, the main thing is that the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Sports has to plan for this. Of course, in this case, they can arrange with many organizations that they can have benefits from the vacation through the plans on which the youth feel that their time is full. And so all this, their energy can go in the right way, not to on the wrong way.
What about the role of NGOs in this issue? The role of non-governmental organizations?
Well, I think, as I told you before, that the main thing is that unless the two ministries are involved with this, we can't reach any aim. To achieve our goal, there should be cooperation with the two ministries. And in this case, these ministries can arrange with other organizations so that everything will be good for the youth.
Right.
So everyone has a certain plan for his life. Once the vacation is planned for, do you think that is going to leave a good impact on the next school year for every school student?
Sure. And this is very important, because you know what? You are refreshing the energy of the youth. When you refresh this energy, of course, on the next year, the academic year, the main thing that they got many benefits from the plan and through the activities which are done through the vacation. So this means that we refreshed their energy to the right way, you know. So they will start the academic year refreshing, and it will get many benefits from this.
Right. Dr. Abed, as an educational expert, what do you think are the type of activities that should be planned for the students to get the utmost benefit during their summer vacations?
Well, I tell you, I can't say that we have to give them this activity or this. It depends upon the youths themselves. You have to ask them what your favorite activity. Otherwise, it will give us nothing.
So it depends on the interest of the person himself,
Exactly.
the student himself.
Yeah, yeah. This is the most
Someone
important.
is into sports, he will go to sports.
It's
If
up-
someone is into brain or mental type of
Well, I think
games or...
It's also, it depends upon their interests.
Right.
Maybe sports, maybe something mental thing. It's up to them. So they have to choose, not we or the who is putting the plan, because they themselves who has to choose what they are interested in. Their favorite activity, it's up to them.
But some of them, they don't have any special interest, especially during that very difficult age, which is the teenage.
Did you,
How
if-
can you help them out?
Yeah, yeah. In this case, I have to put a plan of mental things. And there are many hobbies, you know. I don't think that you can find any youth who say, I have nothing to do. Every one of them have a hobby. The hobby, you can take it according to his favorite activity. But we can't say, never be done to say that this kid or this youth has no hobby. The hobbies are very important. Maybe as art, some music, sports, it's up to their choice.
Some psychiatrists say that for students and school students and also for kids generally and people, human beings, they should, it's okay to waste their times, their time in sometimes in nothing or playing or lingering around instead of being strictly committed to sports routines or let's say art routines or anything. They say it's a relaxation for their minds and enabling them to be more creative. So are you with that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course, to do this, because sometimes the parents don't like their sons to, they say that this is wasting time. Of course, I'm not with them in this case. If they say that it's wasting time, this means they are not doing good for their kids. Because, and the opposite, it's not wasted time. It's wasted time if we leave our kids or youth without empty time, you know. But but I don't think now there are a lot of parents to say that they are wasting the time. Now, most of the parents now...
Actually, it's not a waste of time.
Not a waste of time, of course. Of course not.
They can do whatever they like. It's a free time for
Yeah,
them.
yeah. And now the parents are very interested of these things. And I don't think that you can find any parents say that this is wasting time. Maybe before they were saying wasting time in sports and so and so. And now you feel that most of the parents are now feeling that is not wasting time. But they encourage their sons and daughters to have activities.
What about the issue of serving the society or being engaged in social work? How do you see this?
Excuse me?
Being engaged in social work, serving the society.
Yeah, yeah. Also, this is also will be so good because we can't say that the activities should be to this way or that way. And to participate on social, it's good for them also to feel that he is one of a community, not only he's alone, you know.
Right. Do you encourage university students, for example, in getting summer courses? Or do you think this will be too much for them and they're approaching a new year, a second year, and the summer vacation will be maybe squeezed to 1 month?
Well, I tell you, the summer course is good, but not to have all the time, you know. But the summer course sometimes, but the problem is now, especially on the high school. All the students will find them all the summer vacation. Have courses, and I think this is wrong. We mustn't do that, because the student, he must have time to have activities, not to finish the academic year and start on the courses preparing for the next year.
Right.
This is very, very dangerous for the. I don't think that the student in this case will be able to have good mind.
Because in some universities they have summer courses, and this is part of the curriculum, and some students try to squeeze their time at the university from 4 to 3 years or from 5 to 4 years by taking these summer courses.
Yeah,
so
you
you're
know,
against this?
Yeah, I tell you. No, they have to take it, but not all the time.
Not all the vacation.
Not every
But
year.
I need to
Yeah.
ask you another important question. When you see someone who is like iconic stars, for example, social personalities, when they were young, they were instructed by their parents that they should be something huge when they grow up. So they never had any leisure time. They were working and working and working all their lives, and they were trained, and they were, put under a lot of stress to be able to give their best. And they succeed in their lives, but they never had they always say, we always hear that phrase, they never had a successful childhood. So how do you explain that phrase?
Yeah, I'll tell you something. I think now is different than before. Now I think most of the parents are feeling that it's not so good for their kids to have to work all the time on studying. Even if you, as you said, some did that and they are successful, but you can't say that all are successful. This is rarely to be successful, because you have to plan for your time, not to be 24 hours working, even studying or in any kind of jobs, You have to plan to yourself that some of your time should be for refreshing yourself, not to only to work, even in the university as a student or in any job. Otherwise, I don't think that he'll be successful. If somebody succeeds in this doesn't mean that it's a rule,
If parents find out that their son or daughter is talented in one thing, how can they encourage them or support them to continue in that line?
In fact, that when the parents see that their son or daughter is making good and on this side of
Someone is talented in music, for example.
In any case,
Right.
now I think, as I from my experience with the parents, now they became to recognize these things. They now are feeling that it's okay. They encourage them, even any kind of activity, music, art, sport. But this was, I think, before about more than 10 years, this wasn't done.
Right.
Before that was, for them, is wasting time. But now, they are encouraging their kids to go on these sides of activities. And now they are asking to have, we hear always, and then the fact that the schools has to be, all the activities, now they are asking for this. And most of the parents now encourage their sons and daughters to go on these activities, even music, art, any kind of activities.
Right. Are you with or against the long vacations? I mean, are you with short vacations or long vacations?
I am against long vacation.
Why?
I tell you why. Because especially for the kids, because they feel that they are far from the school, and this he'll not be in his mind that he became